Welcome to Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous. I'm Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo, your host. I'm continuing the series What to Do If You're New to the PU, with this episode contrasting the Avenger against the 325A. Last episode, we took out the Avenger, and we found it to be rather cumbersome and a little bit weak. And the reasoning behind that is that you just don't have upgraded shields in it right now. And trying to use the different weaponry that comes with it, Joker sucker punches and the Gatling cannon in the front, the Tiger Shriek, proved to be a little bit wrong. Not the perfect weaponry. So what I did is I tried to make it more like the 325A, and I put two Omnisky 6s on the wings and left the gun in the front. Now this week, we're going to take out the 325A. And in my evaluation, I found that both of these ships suffer from the same type of issues. One is, they just don't seem to be as maneuverable as they should be. The 325A has 12 maneuvering jets around it. It should be a lot more maneuverable than it is. And it is maneuverable, but it seems to be just a little bit slow getting the nose on target. The Avenger just happens to suffer from that same deficiency. But those of you that use mouse and keyboard instead of HOTAS like I do probably don't have that issue because gimbaled weapons can make up for that. So if you're using mouse and keyboard, you can have a much different experience than I had. Both ships have a heavy weapon in the front. In this case, it's a Gatling gun. We already looked at it last time. You have 4 missiles, 2 on each side, and of course your gun racks over here. Usually houses Joker sucker punches, and they're just not the lethal weapons that you want to take into battle. Like I said, what the Joker sucker punch does is it takes down the electrical systems on the other person's ship, allowing you to disable it very quickly. A perfect squadron would be at least one Warlock, a couple of Avenger Stalkers, so you can actually disable the ship after the shields are down, and then go and take your captives and throw them into these cryostasis chambers or these holding cells. It's a fun little look. From the cockpit, you find that this has one of the best views available. It's just got this huge canopy. In fact, you feel like there's almost room for 2 people up there. I've been waiting for a trainer version of this forever. But it does have a nice look. A very, extremely nice look. Let's move on to the 325A. On the stock 325A, the weaponry is a lot more lethal. The cannon in the front, which is not this one that I have on there right now, but it's actually a bigger mass driver. This is one that I had purchased before. The 325A has a very powerful punch. The 2 OS6s, or Omnisky 6, and the mass driver that's normally up front, which we're going to go and we're going to get it. It's supposed to be the Sledge 2, but when I got this one, purchased this one from the rec store, it was actually this other one down here. Let's see where it is. That's Sawbuck. It's this mass driver right here. It seems a lot bigger and packs a lot more punch. Yeah, that thing is pretty big. And it does actually, when it connects, cause a lot of damage. Now, similar weapon loadout in numbers, you have a weapon in the nose, 2 on the wings, and then 4 missiles on the wings also. Now, this is obviously made for atmospheric flight because of the look of the ship. Getting a little bit of stuttering, I apologize for that. It has to do with the new version of the NVIDIA experience. It's just been bringing my computer to its knees for the last patch and a half. So a nice little thruster back here. We're showing off the thruster because later on when we're in the PU, we'll be flying the 315P. So as we walk up inside of it, my first issue with it is this big, useless area of space. And of course, here's a fold-out bed. You're weightless. Why do you need a bed? Nonetheless, the interior actually looks very, very sweet, even if it is useless. Now, Origin Jumpworks is supposed to be making ships that are the BMW of the UEE. And just by looking at this, you can tell, yeah, the interior does have that look of being something that's more luxurious, if you can say that about a tiny ship like this. Now, looking from the cockpit, at first it seems that you're not going to have that good of a view. But this view rivals that of the Avenger, except down to the left and down to the right. But up and behind, where you can look, your view is actually very good for the ship. It's a beautiful ship. Whatever was going on here, there was some kind of bug that wouldn't let me look around it. I think as soon as I got in the 325A in my hangar, it thought I was flying it. So the mouse and keyboard were being used as controls instead of for me to go around the ship. All right, I want to take this thing up in the PU and show it off a little bit. The first little part of this video is me just getting used to the 325A again. I used to have one, I flew it quite a bit, and I melted it after being disappointed. And the way I became disappointed with it was by getting my Gladius and getting my Hornet and getting my Saber. And obviously those are all military vessels and are supposed to be a lot better at dogfighting. But in the brochure from Origin Jumpworks, which is before all the changes to the item system, this ship was supposed to be balls. It was supposed to be the hottest fighter in that sub $100 class. Maybe it still is, and I just am rating it against other ships that are more expensive. And maybe when the item system 2 is upgraded and I can play with my shields, I could get a much better shield in this ship and thus have more protection. I used to do that before, when you use the holo table, that vicious holo table. And I don't use that anymore, so I guess I just don't see the points on the ship where you can actually change that out. Now the ship just doesn't seem as maneuverable as I expected it to be. And the shields, for something that's supposed to have what they called a force wall, but now it's different. Maybe they didn't upgrade this with the new item system to put 3 shields in it. I don't know what the inevitable loadout of this ship is going to be, because it's now in a rework stage. They're trying to give it a second pass. But right now, just a couple of hits and I'm already feeling quite hurt. You can see I took some hits to the nose area, or to the front of my ship, and thus some of my maneuvering engines are out now. And there you just saw what happens when that mass driver connects. It just disintegrated that ship right in front of me. Alright, let's see if we can do this. Now, what I'm trying to do is not find the maneuverability when it is decoupled. I'm just trying to see the standard maneuverability. And the ship just doesn't maneuver the way I expect it to. It doesn't hold on to a vector very well. It's not very precise. Now the Gladius is much more precise than this, but it's a more expensive ship, so I don't know if it's an intended difference or if it's just the way I'm flying it with my HOTUS. Nonetheless, I played probably about 4 or 5 matches in this ship just to see what it was like. Played with loadout a little bit, and it seems that in this ship, because of the way that it was maneuvering, you really have to get used to using the decoupled mode and use different. I found using different weaponry was better. I tried sawbucks, I tried CF-117s. I didn't try the 217s without the gimbals, but I did try quite a number of different loadouts, and what I found was that for me it was going to be all about the Badgers. All right, now we're going to go take it up in the PU. And since we're flying this beautiful ship, which I still think it's beautiful, I still think the 325A is a hot-looking ship. And I can't wait for CIG to be done with its rework so I could unmelt it and use it again in the PU. Right now, it's just, in fact, I would say right now it's just PU. Nonetheless, we're going to take it out in the universe and see how she does. Now, the first thing that you're going to see when we get out here is that the ship is different. I can't get the 325A to work out here. You used to be able to use the wreck ships in the PU, but rightfully so, you can't do that right now. So I do own a 300 series ship right now, but it's because I love the idea of being an explorer, so I own the exploration. I have the Pathfinder, original Pathfinder package. And here you see the ship in all its glory. And of course up here, I'm going to throw on the OS6s from one of the other ships. So we're going to walk around it. We're going to give it some weaponry like it's supposed to have and make it as close to a 325A as we can. The only thing we're not going to be able to do is give it its missiles. We are not able to put missiles on it yet. I guess from the original, you were able to put them under the wings, but here you are not. Now, there are some differences between this ship and, well, between the 315 and the 325. 325 is supposed to have better armor, better fire control system. This one's supposed to have better sensors for being an explorer. It's supposed to come with a tractor beam. And it has a bigger scoop, a much different thruster. And that's to conserve its power, conserve its fuel, so it can go further. So you see a different loadout over here, a different thruster entirely. A little bit more beef to the engine too. It's not as thin, but still not as armored. Of course, up here, we're just going to put a Sledge 2. Sledge 2 was the original, the original weapon that was in the nose. I love the item system too. In idea, in practice, I don't like the fact that you can't organize your weapons into different groups when you're looking at them, like energy weapons, ballistic weapons, non-lethal weapons. So we're getting into this beautiful cockpit, which looks just a little bit different in color from the 325A. And in this situation, I'm using mouse and keyboard just because I think that from time to time, I should fly the ship like somebody coming in off the street and never flying in the Star Citizen universe before. So since I don't use mouse and keyboard, I think that me using mouse and keyboard gives the best feeling for it. Now, while this isn't a great ship inside of Arena Commander, the whole premise behind this series is how do these things work and what can you do in the PU? Well, this is obviously a lot better in the PU than it is in Arena Commander, and I don't know why that is. Now, I can't say it's a great ship, but it's a better ship than it is in Arena Commander. Or maybe it's that I've flown it in Arena Commander 4 or 5 times, and then here I am inside of the PU, and I've had a few hours in it. Not sure which one it was. But it could also be the AI's total lack of intelligence inside the PU. So it could be quite a number of things. Nonetheless, the ship is actually pretty fun to play in the PU. So if you do want to move up and you're not an Arena Commander fan and you just are thinking about how you're going to be doing exploration inside of the verse, or when 3.0 comes out of the alpha, maybe this is a ship for you. Now, I'm trying to get used to mouse and keyboard. I've rarely, if ever, have flown mouse and keyboard. I think I've flown it once since DragonCon of 2014. on mouse and keyboard, and Dragon Con of 2014, the little, I should say the large competition that we had there, was the first time I had ever flown by a mouse and keyboard. I think if I spent time on it, I'd actually be quite good on mouse and keyboard, and I can see some of the things that would make it better. Now, one handicap I have here is that none of my weapons are on gimbals, so they're not working the same way. Most of these ships that you meet are not actually being flown by capable pilots. The AI is vastly dumbed down in the PU from what it is in Arena Commander. So when you see me crashing into ships, it's because I don't realize that they're standing still. I expect them to be flying in different directions. It sounds like you should be able to maneuver around something that's standing still a lot faster, a lot easier. No, not me. Put a tree in front of me, I'll find a way to hit it. And again, I am not one of those people that flies mouse and keyboard that often. So ramming ships is something I do here. Now there is my favorite ship in the lower price range, and that's the Gladius. And I think it's somewhere between $85 and $115. I know I paid $85 for mine. I think it's a different price now, but I'd tell you this. Outside of the fact that it has absolutely no cargo carrying capability, if what you want to do is escort your friends' cargo ships, go out there and kill pirates, take on some mercenary missions, the Gladius is a wonderful ship to get. It's easy to fly, it has an amazing weapons loadout, it has wonderful systems, including 4-point shields. It is a great ship. 325A, for the price so far, I'd say that it's not going to come back to my fleet anytime soon, unless CIG does something really big to make it better. Now the 315P, this one. Yeah, this one. And the 350R, which is the racer. Those two will probably stay in my arsenal, stay in my fleet, because they do have a purpose. The main purpose here being that this is an exploration vessel. So I'm not taking it out against hordes of Vandal. I'm not taking it out against tons and tons of pirates. What I'm doing with this one is going out into the stars and searching for things. And that's one of the main reasons to buy this ship. So if you're looking at the 300 series as a whole, yes, it's a very viable upgrade from the Aurora, from the Mustang. But don't expect it to be a godlike ship, especially with ships like the Sabre out there for $150 that pretty much is the OP queen of my fleet. It is a wonderful ship. If I deck that thing out with Panthers, I am unstoppable. Here we are, walking through this beautiful ship. I still think the 300 series is beautiful though. That's the whole thing. I look at it from the point of view of, when I see it, I love the lines on it. Now, I believe it's Chris Smith's ship. I believe it's one of the ships that he took part in designing, or it might be Rob, who left so long ago. Alright, so let's talk this one out. I sound a little bit negative today about the ship that I'm flying, and I'll tell you this. Any negativity I have towards this ship is not something that's going to be around for long. Once CIG puts out the reworked version of the 300, I'm sure most of my issues are going to be answered. Also, when Item System 3.0 comes out and you can actually do more with the items and there's a lot more to buy, fully decking out this ship, whether it be the 315, the 300, or the 325A, is probably going to make it multitudes more lethal than it is today. But still, for the money that I have, I'd keep the Legionnaire, the Aurora Legionnaire. Alright, let's look at the three ships that I'm now comparing it against, or the two ships, and they're both Aegis Dynamics design. I find that I did much better in the Avenger, especially when I loaded them with the same weapons loadout. When I put something like the bigger sledge on the 325A and Badgers on the wingtips and fly with joystick and HOTAS, I did a lot better on the 325A. But I would do much better on the Avenger. Now when I take out the Gladius, it's just kick butt, and neither one of them hold up to it yet. It's just that Gladius is probably supposed to be that end-all, be-all, lower price-ranged fighter. So these are the two ships that we've taken out over the last couple of episodes. The one in the center is the Aegis Dynamics Avenger, and the one to the right is the Origin Jumpworks 325A. Now remember, the opinions of these ships were mine and mine alone. And I have my loves in the game, and I'm sure you do too. There are many people that fly the 325A and Avenger and do extremely well. I like other ships, but if CIG gets the second pass correct on the 325A, I'm sure it will find its way back into my fleet. Now remember to like and subscribe. Remember my Patreon over at patreon.com/Batgirl or patreon.com/fantasyroll if you'd just like to give on a monthly basis. And Ben's Day will be returning this Thursday. And with that said, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.